everyone, good morning. My name is Theresa Nguyen, and
I'll take care of that.
Okay, I am a mindset and success coach for female entrepreneurs who want to overcome their fear and turn their passions into profit. That's sort of like my official title. But really, I'm just a girl from Minnesota, and raised by
Minnesota.
What's that?
It even sounds like
I
Minnesota.
still have my Minnesotan accent. So a girl from Minnesota, raised by refugee parents, and I wanted to share today how we can use our gift of intuition to help us achieve our goals. And I wanted to start by sharing actually my parents' story, because this is what prompted me to explore, how we can use our intuition, just not in our daily lives, but also to apply it to our businesses. So my parents escaped Vietnam during the fall of Saigon in 1975. My dad was a U.S. soldier working for, he was a Vietnamese soldier working for the U.S. Army. And when the communists were invading the South, he knew that he had to get the heck out of Dodge because he would either get jailed, tortured, or killed. So without even having a plan or knowing what to do, he immediately hopped on his motorcycle, went home, told my mom to pack her stuff, we're leaving right now. So she, my two siblings, my aunt, and my dad hopped on a motorcycle with a sidecar and started driving without really knowing where they were going. And as he was approaching the barracks that he left, he noticed in the back, on the back was his lieutenant leaving into a car along with an entourage. And while he didn't really know what was going on, he decided to follow him sort of, at a distance behind that entourage. You have to remember that the war is still going on. So there's fire and bullets and rubble and fog. Like, you can't see really anything ahead of you, beside you, in back of you. So he's driving blindly for about 20 minutes, and he says to my mom, "We're gonna die. This is it. We're gonna die. You need to make amends with God." So they're praying, and through divine intervention, they stop at this another checkpoint, and it was surrounded by guards with artillery weapons, and they had to have paperwork in order to get through. In front of them were a few other cars, including the lieutenant. And my mom says to my dad, "We have to head back. We're gonna get caught, they're gonna send us back anyway, let's turn around, we'll figure out another plan." But my dad, he was like, "No, we have to stay. There's something, I just feel something, we have to stay. I don't know if they're gonna let us through, but there's something here, we have to stay." So she gets nervous, my mom's super nervous. She's like, "No, we're not gonna get through, we have to leave right now." And they're like pretty much next up to get their paperwork checked. And as soon as the guard starts to approach my dad, a bomb comes in, and it causes complete chaos to that area. My parents and my siblings and my aunt jump into a ditch, and they hide there for protection until things settle down a little bit. But in the meantime, my dad is like watching the entryway, and he sees that nobody is there. So he runs in with everybody along with him. They pull down the barbed wire and they sneak through the gates, and they end up catching one of the last helicopters leaving Vietnam. And that's basically started our journey to the United States. Luckily, I was the first daughter who was first child born in the US. So the reason why I bring this up is because our gift of intuition is very real. We don't have to be in a fight or flight mode in order to access it. Although that is basically the stories that we hear, is people always talk about, "Oh, I had this gut instinct that I had to do it." It was more like a situation that required an urgent, yes, or you had to make like a fast decision. But that's not necessarily true, meaning like we don't have to wait until that happens. We don't have to be in those situations in order to apply our gift of intuition. So let me just click through here. And so, my point in telling you this is my dad followed his inner voice. to get us to freedom. And I wanted to share how I used this inspiration, how I used intuition to coach my clients to help them reach their goals with more flow and ease versus stress, anxiety, and overwhelm. So what's my point? And I've sort of already gone over this, but we all have this gift of intuition. It's usually triggered by a fight or flight response. We have a tendency to think that we have to listen to our mental mind, our logical mind, because that makes more sense. But a lot of times, at least for me, and I've learned this through the last 2 years, is I have to trust my gut in a lot of business decisions. And when I trust my gut, it leads me to a feeling of that's really not that hard. That I really don't have to work on all my weaknesses. I really just leverage your strengths and make it easier for you to achieve what it is that you want to achieve. You don't have to know everything about marketing, know everything about social media, know everything about email funnels. You just leverage what you know and strengthen your strengths. You can also strengthen your weaknesses, but use what you know and apply that to your business goals. And also, intuition, by using intuition, it helps you, it keeps you from overanalyzing and overthinking and being in a state of indecision. So what is intuition anyway? So I pulled this from Merriam-Webster, and it is our natural ability or power that makes it possible to know something without any proof or evidence. It's a feeling that guides a person to act a certain way without fully understanding why. It's something that is known or understood without proof or evidence. So I pulled up some studies that were done on intuition and goal setting, or intuition, how they used intuition to make decisions. And there was a study done at the University of Alberta, and they found that when you set a goal, your brain looks around to see what is the closest thing that will get you to your goal. So if it sees an object, it sees an opportunity, if it sees a person that will help you get to your next step, it'll trigger an emotional response, and that response is actually called your intuition. And so that's the job of your brain, is to trigger this emotional response. And then it's sort of like your next step is whether you're gonna do something or not. And my advice to most people is just pounce on it, just do it, because you're not gonna die, right? The worst thing that can happen is you find out that that's actually not the right decision for you. But it was very interesting that that they correlated, that your mental mind and your intuition actually work together very well. Another study by Lund University showed that intuition, when in big companies, when there is a big decision that needs to be made, and there aren't a lot of facts, that high-level strategic managers use their intuition. And so it's not a woo-woo topic, like successful people who are highly educated, people who have to manage hundreds, thousands of people, they also use their intuition for their business goals and their business decisions. And the next thing I wanted to share was from the National Institutes of Health, just to show that intuition is really applied like across the board, across all spans of backgrounds and occupations. So they found that in hospital settings, when nurses have been working for several years already and have built up their clinical experience, they use their own intuition to judge what they should do, what they need to do first in order to take care of the patients. And by doing this, it actually showed positive patient outcomes. So I wanted to illustrate that intuition is a real thing, and people, whether they're business people or clinicians, we all use it and apply it to our life and to our jobs and for our businesses. So I wanted to share with you how to create goals from your gut. So how do you create and move forward to achieve your goals using your intuition, using your gut feelings? And I wanted to share that it's really not about the goal that you're chasing, it's chasing the feeling that you want to achieve when you have attained that goal. So what is it that you want to feel when you get your dream house, when you get your promotion, when you make your $1 million? You actually want to shoot for that end feeling, not necessarily that specific object. And so these are just examples, of traditional goals that we set for ourselves. And it may be yours, it may not be yours, but actually half of these are mine. So, you want to hit a specific financial goal, but at the end of the year, you want a promotion at work, you want to sign on a certain amount of clients within 30 days, you want to become a millionaire, you want to lose 20 pounds, you want to own a private jet. So those are sort of our traditional goals that, when people ask you, what are your goals for the next 30, 60, 90 days, or what are your goals for, what do you see for yourself over the next 20 years? What is it that you want to have or achieve? And we assume that when we have this success, so success equals that dream house, success equals making that $1 million, that then we're gonna be happy. But the truth is that you can achieve those feelings that you're chasing, you can achieve them now without the $1 million, without the dream house, without losing the extra 20 pounds. So when our goals don't align with what we truly want, that's when we hit roadblocks. That's when we start feeling anxiety and overwhelm, and that's when we start kind of feeling in the point of indecision, when we're back and forth, should I do this, should I do that, and then just like stopping because your GPS, your inner GPS isn't working. You're not tapping into it. And so back to when your goals don't align with how you want to feel, when you actually achieve that goal, you'll find that sometimes you end up feeling very empty once you have, made that extra, $50,000. You'll find that when you achieve it, you tell yourself, you know what, it took too long, why didn't I start earlier? You'll feel burnt out, and again, you'll just be stressed and in a point of indecisiveness. And just a quick story, I started my network marketing business about 5 years ago, and I hit the top of the pay plan in 8 months. And when I achieved it, I wasn't as excited as I thought I would be. I actually felt really unfulfilled, and it was because I was chasing the money. I wasn't chasing that feeling of fulfillment. I just thought if I made that amount of money that I would be happier because it would provide X, Y, and Z for my family. But really, I was just at a place of I just felt empty, and that's another reason why I decided to go back into learning more about intuition, because I felt like everything that I have done and used my intuition for has created so much more abundance in my life than when I just solely used my mental mind. Things don't always have to make sense in order for you to achieve what you want to achieve. And again, intuition is not a mystical or magical thing. It's not woo-woo. It's, again, we're all born with it, and we all have these gut feelings. It's just whether or not you listen to it, whether or not you stay open to applying it and using it in your life. All right, so when we talk about using your intuition to set goals, the real goal is you just want to feel good, right? At the basic, very basic goal is you just want to feel good, whether it's losing weight, whether it's making tons of money, whether it's owning your private jet so you can travel the world. Really, the end point is you just want to feel good. So that's all you have to sort of focus on when you are creating your goals and moving towards that. What makes you feel good? And so this talk is gonna really, I want to share more about how when you clarify what you want through how you feel and using that awareness as your guide or your GPS to apply to the decisions that you make. So your intuition is just your GPS to show you the best way to do something that will make you feel good and still move you forward to achieving the goals that you want. And so people are like, well, what do you mean by feelings? You know, like the feeling of success, or what do you mean? So this is just like a very minimal list of examples of perhaps what you want to feel when you're successful. So joy, happiness, abundance, you want to feel proud, accomplished, appreciated, fulfilled, free, relief, and powerful. These were actually some of my personal feelings that I wanted to experience. And so that's actually one of the first things that I tell my clients when they are in a place that they want to achieve their goals. I ask them first, what is the emotion that you want to feel? Like, what is the emotion that you're trying to get to? And so then they'll list 2 or 3 of the strongest ones. And then to clarify too that just because you're shooting for a feeling doesn't mean that you're not going to work your butt off to get there. This is just using your intuition is just another way to apply to the other strategies that you're using in order to get to your goals. And honestly, if you approach everything as every decision that you make as a way to make you feel good, make you feel better, then will it really matter whether or not you sign on 1 or 5 clients? Because at the end of it all, you're still gonna be happy. Like if you're shooting for happy, then the numbers won't matter. You're gonna enjoy the journey with every single step. And when you hit that 1 client, you're gonna celebrate. When you hit the 5 clients, you're gonna celebrate. But you're not gonna say that you suck or that you failed if you only hit that 1 client, if you only signed on that 1 client versus 5, because by applying the feelings of whatever feelings you want to achieve, success, happiness, or whatever, by intentionally choosing to take action based on how you feel, your journey will be much more fulfilling, and the outcome won't mean as much. It'll still be important, but you're not going to feel like a failure like a lot of us do when we don't reach a certain goal. The next thing, besides selecting what feelings that you're trying to achieve, the next thing is being very self-aware. So obviously, I mentioned before, we can't be good at everything. So what are the things that you are really good at? And even if you don't think it applies necessarily to your business, there are ways for you to apply what you're good at so that it can help you to elevate, or it helps you to attract more business. So for example, if I am I'm trying to think now. Okay, so if I am a restaurant owner and one of my passions is painting, I might think, well, I love to paint. I know I'm really good at it, but what does it have to do with being a restaurant owner? Well, use that creativity as a painter and apply it to marketing ideas. You know, people love to see beautiful graphics. People love to see color. People love bold marketing. So you can use your talent, what you think that might not be, relevant to your business, but you can use that creativity and apply it to your business. So think about those things that you are good at and link it to your goals and figure out how you can apply that to help accelerate you where you want to go. If you aren't self-aware, like say you really not really sure what you're good at, then ask your friends, ask your family, ask the people who know you best. You know, what are 3 things that I'm great at? What are 3 things that I'm not so great at? And they'll tell you the truth. And then use that list then to create the things that you're going to be using to help you move forward in your business. And the third thing that you want to think about is the obstacles that you've identified that are in your way right now. And how is that keeping you from reaching your goal? Because if we're not aware of what's stopping us, then we can't work through it. You know, you're just going to keep trying to move forward. And if you're not aware of what's like holding you back, then you're going to continue to hit that wall. So awareness of what is holding you back is also something very important. So holding it all together. So what is the feeling that you choose today to keep you in alignment with your goals? What's the one thing you can do today to get you one step closer to that goal by applying your identified strength or strengths to help you with the ease and flow of the entire process? And what obstacles have you identified are in the way right now that's keeping you from reaching your specific goal? So I wanted to share some case studies because I'm like, okay, I'm a nurse too. So I need proof. Like I need proof that this happens. Yes, I believe in intuition, but I also need proof. So I used it sort of like this framework on my own clients. I wanted to share the results. So these aren't their real names to protect their identity. Alice is an insurance agent. She came to me feeling stuck, and she didn't know why she couldn't get motivated. She wanted to run for like this top level achievement that she did achieve at some point. I think it was like a year or 2 before, but she's just stuck in this rut and she couldn't overcome it. She couldn't identify why. And she was burnt out and tired from just running, you know, for her goals all the time. And so we went through that same process. What is the feeling that you're trying to achieve? When you hit that #1 rank in your company, whatever, how is it that you want to feel? So she identified fulfillment, joy, and free. And self-awareness, what is one of your top strengths? And she said that she was a great listener. And then she identified her obstacles as feeling unworthy, that she wasn't smart enough, and she'd already failed in the business already, so, you know, she didn't think that she could overcome anything else because she already identified herself as a failure. So what she did was every day she chose one action, one thing to make her feel, to help her align with that feeling of being fulfilled, feeling joy, or feeling free. And honestly, it doesn't always have to be related to business. You know, what makes you feel free? Is it like dancing in the bathroom naked? You know, that's really freeing, right? Is it running, going for a sprint, you know, for down 2 blocks? What is it? What makes you feel free? And just get into that energy, because if you stay stuck in this funk, if you stay in this energy of feeling stagnant, and you don't move towards like the feelings that you're trying to achieve, like you're never going to achieve your goals. So even if you don't believe in this and you're feeling stuck, then I really encourage you to try this, because as I'm sharing you these case studies and the results, I think that you will be really surprised at how just doing this has really elevated them in their business. And so the outcome was, you know, we discovered that this story is something that she's sort of been carrying along with her. And that she believed that she got to the top 2 years ago by luck. It wasn't because she was smart. It wasn't because she was really good at what she was doing. It was really sort of just by accident. And also understanding that your circumstances are not tied to your worth. Your circumstances are not something that should hold you back, and that you have a choice to live differently. You don't have to blame anything or anybody for where you are right now, because you are responsible for what happens to you in your life for the most part. And through this process, she ended up actually deciding that she needed to change careers. And this was probably about 2 months into our coaching, and now she's making more in 1 month than she ever did with her initial position. And she says that she has less stress, anxiety, and less pressure because now she's actually learning to enjoy the journey. And her energy, like people are telling her like how different she looks, how different she feels, like you're so happy today, you know, and people are attracted to happy people, right? Like, you know, when someone's in a bad mood, you can feel the tension and you're not going to approach them. But when you see someone, say, who's bubbly and fun and happy, they're just more open, their space is more open, their energy is more open, you're more likely to come up to them and talk to them and approach them, and you're attracted to them. The next case study I have, her name is Rachel, and she's in sales. She said to me, I am slow growing because I don't know how to use social media. When I am about to make it professionally, I get scared and self-sabotage. So this is like super common. We say we want goals, but there's like this upper limit, right? Like we know what we're good at and we kind of stay at where we're good at. But once we're challenged with stretching ourselves a little bit more, we're like, I really want it, but I kind of don't want it because it makes me feel really uncomfortable. Now I have to stretch myself. Like, what if I can't do it? What if I really suck at it? And so that's when the self-sabotage comes in, because it keeps us safe. It keeps us comfortable. And that's okay, but not if you want to continue to grow. And so her goal feelings were abundance and happiness. Her awareness, her self-awareness, the thing that she was really good at is organization. And the things that have kept her back, the obstacles that she identified, was that she didn't have any time, she didn't have social media skills, and she was undeserving of achieving more income, of having more money. And so her story really was tied to money, like worth equals the amount of money that you make. And she didn't have self-worth, therefore she could not make money, therefore she didn't deserve money. That was her story. And that she was also too old to learn new things. Well, by 3 weeks, when she applied these concepts of being in sort of like alignment with her feelings, leveraging her strengths, and being aware of what was holding her back, she was able to increase her business sales in actually 14 days, and in 6 months, she made 7 figures in sales, which is crazy. Not to say she didn't apply strategy to it, but she, on top of the strategy, she applied the intuition, the feelings that helped to guide her and take those steps that made her feel good. And so my own experience, I always told myself I wanted to make my first 5-figure month in coaching, and a lot of self-limiting beliefs on my part because of my own cultural beliefs and things like that. But my goal feelings were abundance. I wanted to feel strong. I wanted to feel expansive. I wanted to feel worthy. And my self-awareness is that I know that I'm a really great writer and I can communicate very well when I write. The obstacles that were in my way is the fear of visibility, the fear of judgment, and the fear of failing. And I believed that my story was that I wasn't smart enough and that I was a big imposter, that people were gonna think I'm this fake. Once they find out that I'm a fake, oh my gosh, like no one is gonna hire me. I'm gonna be on like the imposter list, wherever that lives on the internet, I'm gonna be there. And by leveraging the strengths, so by leveraging my strengths of writing, by always thinking about the feelings that I want to be in when making a decision, like what step I should take next, and by also being aware of this fear of visibility, this fear of judgment, this fear of failure, and working through that, through always being in alignment with how I feel, I signed on just one client to meet my 5-month goal instead of this other 5-figure goal. Instead of thinking that I would have to sign on all these clients, by being in alignment with how I wanted to feel, that abundance came to me through one person. So, after that, I felt like I could do anything, like come up here and talk to a bunch of people, which is also a big fear of mine. So I wanted to end this talk with a quote by Albert Einstein. He says, "The intuitive mind is a sacred gift, and the rational mind is a faithful servant. We have created a society that honors the servant and has forgotten the gift." And so this is just a really great opportunity for me to share with you how to use your gift of intuition in order to navigate and achieve your goals. And who doesn't want life to feel good, right? So that's the end of my talk, and I'm open to any questions or comments even.
Well, let's applaud first.
Thank you.
That's great.
Thank you.
You didn't seem afraid at all.
Oh, I didn't? Oh yeah, my heart is like tachycardic right now for all you nurses out there.
No questions?
Okay, I'm good.
Well, let me ask you that. Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Because I've got a bunch of notes.
Okay, sure.
So, because I'm always learning. So you talked about having your intuition and following your gut. How do you reconcile the challenge, or what do you do? I love the self-awareness, self-observance, being aware of what you're thinking. But essentially 95% of our thoughts are really driving us to the behaviors that we've done in the past.
Right.
And what you're talking about is actually transformational or changing somebody. So how do you, when you're working with your clients, or from your experience, in the intuition, how do you really get somebody to tap into what I would call their vision or their positive intuition, rather than their past of their failures or their successes, or it can be either, right?
Right. I think that's a really great question. So like you were saying, like 95% of what we think actually drives our decisions, right? And 80% of our thoughts are negative.
Right.
So I think a part of being aware and changing those thoughts is understanding what those thoughts are.
Absolutely.
And so it's very simple. You just have to track what you're thinking, And so I just tell people for 1 week, whenever you can remember, at least, whenever you remember a thought, or when a thought comes into your head, I want you to write it down, because that same thought actually repeats in your head over and over and over again. And when you can identify those negative things that you keep telling yourself every single day, you have the opportunity to actually flip the switch. So thoughts are just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed. They really are. They're just thoughts, and thoughts can be changed, just like patterns. So it's just a thought habit. And if you're telling yourself, I can't do this, I'm not a great speaker, then that's basically the story that you're going to say for the rest of your life. But if you turn it around and say, you know what, I am awesome, and everyone loves to hear me speak, and you continue to tell yourself that, then you'll start to believe it. And so those are ways that you can start tapping into your intuition, because when you believe things, that's when those other ideas that come to your head become more trustworthy. Because we have all these ideas, right? Things that we think about, and then we just dismiss it. We're like, no, that's not a good idea. Or I shouldn't do this because there's so many risks to it. But those are actually the best ideas. And I found that to be the best ideas, because I used to confuse being impulsive with inspired. And because I didn't really believe in intuition, I really operate with my mental mind a lot and with logic, because again, I need proof, I need data, I need studies to show me. And when I reflect back in my life, I realized that whatever I called impulses, because that was my reason, that was my logical mind saying that wasn't intuition, like the intuition really has led me to, for example, a decision to move to New York. And I wanted to go to grad school. And I wanted to do it the easier way, which was not to take the GRE, right? Like I had already been out of school for, I don't know, 7 or 8 years. I don't want to take like another test and have to get trained and all that stuff. So I'm like, let's just find a school where it doesn't require me to take the GRE. And then my logical mind was like, no, that is so dumb. You're never gonna get in. You need to make sure that you apply to 5 different schools. Then your chances are higher, if you apply to 5 different grad school versus just 1. But I followed my intuition. I put all my eggs in one basket, and lo and behold, I applied to 1 and I got it. So it's things like that where you're like, oh, that's such a dumb idea. Were actually the best ideas, and actually it was easy. I didn't have to apply 5. I didn't have to pay 5 admission fees. I wrote 1 paper, I paid 1 admission fee, I sent it off in the mail. 2 weeks later, got the approval letter. So it's following those little nudges, and it's not always loud. Those voices aren't loud. People are always saying, follow that loud voice. It's not. Like mine are whispers. And so a lot of times I have to stay very quiet. I have to stay very quiet to hear what I need to do and where I need to take my next step. So did that answer your question?
Wonderfully. And actually I have another question if it's okay.
Yeah.
Is it all right?
Yeah.
Okay. Is that okay, Jen?
No, it's fine.
Good. So share with me your thoughts about intuition versus imagination.
Yes. Okay. So intuition to me is an internal feeling that helps you, that guides you to your next decision, right? Imagination is all the different possibilities that are out there. If you're applying it to your business, imagination is basically all the possibilities that you can think of to help you get to a specific goal. And your intuition helps you select what you have imagined as a possibility. So when you imagine things, the possibilities are limitless, right? Like when I think of imagination, that's what I think about. And intuition helps you to figure out which of those options that you just use your imagination for are the best next steps.
A dream versus a pipe dream.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I mean, I think anything that you imagine is possible, but there's always like one way that might be a little bit easier for you. It might not necessarily probable either, just easier because yeah, like you'll find that when you choose the one that you are attracted to the most, even if logically it doesn't make sense, even though you're like, I do not have the skills for it, I don't have the money, I don't have the manpower, I don't know how I'm gonna do this, but for some reason, this feels really right, you'll start to see that certain people will come into your life, certain opportunities will arrive, but it'll be your choice whether or not to take it, okay? So that's the other trick, is intuition is not going to tell you everything. You also have to be open to talking to those people, meeting those, coming to the meetings, opening yourself up to receiving what the universe is sending you. Yeah.
Great.
So, thank you, guys.